Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome, one and all, to today's show. As always, this is Colt Potato, and I am your ever loyal host, Campion. And joining me is, of course, the man who sits ever vigilant on the golden throne and who sheds microscopic tears for every man who dies in his royal service, the God Emperor of Mankind, Mr. Grady Hooker. How's it going?
Howdy, 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 all of my loyal subjects. I hope you're all having amazing days, doing whatever you're
Shut
doing.
up, Grady. The God Emperor of Mankind can't talk. He's on the golden throne.
I'm sorry.
That's an explicit part of the law, Grady. I'm sorry.
Prepare to do a podcast on your own then, buddy.
Oh, did you ever get into 40k? Was that something
No.
you've ever do you even know a lot about it?
I know it exists, I know there's little figures, and I know there's a bunch of lore.
Because back during early uni days, I moved in with some good friends of ours who were really into 40k. They got me back into it way back in high school, and unfortunately, it's something that's I feel is slowly consuming my life.
I was gonna ask what Warhammer 40k had to do with Scott Pilgrim versus the World, and then I sensed your segue, and now I'm talking to ruin your segue.
And now you're cutting it off at the pass. Well, okay, Grady. Yes. What were you doing in the year 2010, the year that Scott Pilgrim versus the World came out? See? You cut off the segue, but I'm shoving it right back in there.
Were we in high school?
Yeah, 2010. Yeah.
Look, all the years blend together. I was in high school, probably being a shithead, probably not behaving myself, a bunch of repressed everything. Welcome
Not
to going to an
behaving yourself.
all-boys high
That is
school.
I remember you in high school. You were more of a goody two-shoes than I was.
Oh boy.
I distinctly remember that.
That's a public-facing image, Campion. Just loving high school. Absolutely amazing time of my life. And not watching Scott Pilgrim because I didn't see this movie till last year.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't see it
That
until
surprises me
2020.
a lot. I saw it not long after it came out, and this was like for a long time. This was like it's still like my favorite movie. I absolutely adore this film, and I remember this consumed a lot of who I was as a teenager at the time, because I remember showing it to like. This is why I'm surprised you haven't seen it, because I remember going out of my way to force a lot of people to watch this movie. I'm genuinely surprised you weren't one of them.
I just dodged it. Every time you brought up Scott Pilgrim, I'd just jump out a window.
Yes. So, Scott Pilgrim versus the World, based on the comic book series just called Scott Pilgrim. And it was released in 2010, distributed by Universal Pictures, and directed by Edgar Wright, who, funnily enough, is my all-time favorite director. I absolutely love his stuff. He, of course, did the Cornetto trilogy with Nick Frost and Simon Pegg. He did Baby Driver, which is also a brilliant film. All-around fantastic guy, and yes, this is a very, very good film.
I don't know, I kind of think the film's overrated, personally. I feel like I just got stabbed digitally. Like, I said that and you brandished a knife. The film was good, okay? Talk to me again.
Yes. I figured that you liked the movie, mostly because, when we decided to pick the movie, you explicitly said, "Oh yeah, I really like that movie."
Look, I told you, I'm a bad boy. I lie. I'm the bad boy of Colt Potato, okay?
The comics, by the way, just quickly to circle back from.
Sorry, I ruined your
comic
intro
book series. No, it's all right. The comic book series, done by Brian Lee O'Malley. I genuinely forgot what his name was for a brief second there, so I just had to do a quick Google. I knew it was O'Malley something. I thought it was Brandon Lee O'Malley, but I think that's someone completely different.
Brandon Lee, huh? Cool. Just keep going. You'll figure it out.
Shut up. Although that film is on our list coming up. it is something that we intend to cover at some point. So, yeah, so it's a bit of a call forward, I suppose. But anyway, Grady, I just want to know, because I saw this at a very, very young age, a very formative, age in my development. So this film ended up shaping a lot of what I enjoy about just movies and sort of things in general. I really want to know, like, what your experience as, like, a grown-ass man was watching this. Because as a teenager, it blew my mind. I was just like, whoa, this is crazy. I didn't know movies could be like this. And then rewatching it as an adult, I still really enjoyed it. I still like it, but it didn't quite have that same, that same impact as it did as a child. So I just genuinely would like to know what a grown-ass man's perspective on this film is.
Well, I watched the film for the first time on my own. I just, for whatever reason, decided to watch it. And by the end of that week, I'd watched it 5 times. If that is enough of an introduction to the fact that I enjoyed the film, I think it definitely hits differently as an adult. Like, I was picking up things that there's no way Baby Grady would have picked up at all. Just around, like, relationship dynamics and stuff like that. Those relationships were 90% toxic.
Yes, like, it's something that I did not pick up. I kind of got it as a kid, but then, like, as an adult, it's just like, oh, no, this hits way, way more differently as an adult, because as a kid, it was more about, like, the spectacle and, like, the overall style of the film.
The style's like, amazing.
Oh yeah, it's brilliant. Edgar Wright is his directorial style is absolutely brilliant. But as an adult, there's a lot more to kind of take away from everything, like, because the character of Scott himself, right? Like, I liked him as a kid. I thought this is a great movie. And then rewatching it as an adult, it's just like, oh wow, Scott is a terrible, terrible human being.
Oh yeah, he's a scumbag.
He's awful.
Horrible man.
Yes, and the thing is, it's not even like rewatching it and just being like, oh man, I can't believe, they want me to like this guy, I like this main character. No, the film does not pull its punches. It makes it very, very clear that he is, a piece of shit.
Yeah. There's 2 notes in my notebook for this movie, just because I'd watched it a few times already. I think we were both confident enough without taking too many notes. The second note wasn't even written by me. It was written by one of my girlfriends while we were watching, and it just says, he has issues. That's all.
Massive issues. And it's funny, because when I watched it, I was significantly younger than the characters of the film, because I haven't watched this in years. Mm-hmm. And then rewatching it now, it's like, I'm significantly older than most of the characters in this movie now. This is very different, because I can kind of see a lot of the stuff that I went through okay, well, I'm still fairly young, but as like a young 20-something, like in early 20s, I can see a lot of my early 20s in this movie.
Yeah, like, just pure facts about it, right? Like, he's with Envy, something, small shatters that relationship. His immediate rebound is like
I don't know if it was small. She cheated on him. It's not small.
Compared to pretty much him doing that identical thing in, like, 2 girlfriends.
Yeah.
Because first off, you call him a scumbag immediately, because his rebound from that is like a high schooler.
Yeah.
with a massive age gap.
Yeah.
You lose immediately. And then not only are you with a high schooler, you immediately start 2-timing her with this random who just showed up in your dreams one day.
Yeah. And rewatching it, I thought, oh no, is this going to be one of those films where I rewatch it and I realize that this film I've idolized for so many years is actually really bad and toxic? It's like, no, Scott gets called out on all of his crap a lot throughout the film. In fact, his progression, his character arc over the film is learning to, not be a terrible person. Something that's kind of mirrored with his main love interest, Ramona. She isn't a scumbag, but she's definitely not. She's done. They make it clear that she's done some terrible things. I suppose the better way to put it is that she's sort of going through a similar kind of character arc to Scott, but she's just much further along in it. She's further along in that development than Scott is.
Yeah, she, every time they give you her backstory with one of the boyfriends or the evil exes, it was always horrible. It was just like, oh, we beat up these people, we picked on these people, I broke up with them after like a day, and just left a trail of broken hearts. It's not a great history. Not once did they tell back about like a great relationship. And that's why I think it's a little poetic that in the end the two of them ended up together.
Yeah. And a lot of like the whole climax of the film is pretty much just less Ramona, because Ramona has more or less already reached that point by the time we see her. It's Scott kind of catching up to it, and once he's kind of caught up to where she is in the development, that's kind of when they can be together.
Yeah, like there was two endings to this film, right? Like I feel like it's one of those facts that most people know. I think they went with the right one for sure.
Oh, they went with the right one because I think for a few years I was just like, oh no, they should have gone with the original where because at the end of the film Scott gets together with Ramona, but in the original ending he got together with Knives instead. And for years I thought, oh, that's the ending that they should have gone for. But I think rewatching it has kind of, well, that and sort of reading what the writers of the film, like the director, writers, and even Brian O'Malley, the creator of the comic book, they all prefer the updated ending way more than the original. It fits a lot better because Knives' character arc is sort of her coming to... It's growing up, she's a teenager in a relationship with an older guy. It's her growing up and realizing that she doesn't really need or want Scott in her life. That she can, probably do a bit better. And that, if we're being honest.
She could do a lot better for sure. It's sort of like the two broken characters, I guess, ending up together. And we've jumped straight to the end of the film, and I'm sure we'll come back to the other bits, but like... I have a feeling that we're going to be jumping all over the place with this movie. Yeah, that whole ending piece where Nigger Scott shows up and they're the exact same person. I feel like that's probably the most subtle. Like everything else is like smashing you in the face that Scott's a bad person, and they're like, here is this evil version of the character, and he's identical to you. Do you get it yet?
Well, he shows up, and it's just like, actually, he's super chill and really nice, so...
and,
Which, by the way, I love that twist, because in the original comic, they actually did have, like, a proper fight and everything. But and obviously they couldn't, because of, of all... Because they had to fit 6 volumes worth of stuff into this film, so they had to cut out a lot of stuff, but I do prefer the way they handled it in the film. It's just... Well, I just thought it was funny.
Yeah, they were pushing for runtime, honestly, would be my one thing for this movie. Like, they pace it really well at the start, and then midway, maybe 3/5 through the movie, they hit the accelerator because they are out of runtime.
Yeah, well, that's because 3/5 of the way they realize, oh wait, we need to get through 7, but we've only killed 3.
We've spent all this time sitting up.
Stop throwing them at him.
And yeah, they just start dropping like flies. Like, on a rewatch, the twins were like 3 minutes of runtime.
Yeah.
No lines of dialogue. Just take them out, move on to Gideon.
But there is a reason for that.
Yeah, it's because they couldn't speak a lick of English.
Because they couldn't speak any English, so they had to, write around it.
But I feel like that is also just a symptom of that runtime trying to speed up as well.
Yeah.
So that's probably the only thing that I can think of off the top of my head that was negative, was just that speed up at the end. It felt like sometimes things needed a little while to breathe.
And I think, and even then, I don't think it's so much that the film runs at a breakneck pace. I think, even though some of the fight scenes are pretty fast, I guess, it's more that the film, the first, not half, but more like the first third of the film, plays like your general, plays at the same kind of pace you'd expect from like an indie sort of rom-com kind of thing. The young 20-somethings, living in the city, doing all that kind of, falling in love, doing that kind of stuff, and it's running with that kind of pace right up until the first X shows up, and it's like, nope, this isn't a rom-com, this is an action movie now.
Yeah, even then though, like Matthew wasn't overly like sped up because he had to get out, the reason. He had to explain some stuff. Um, he had stuff to do, and he sort of fit into the plot, which I guess is luckily that all seven were able to fit in as well. Because you gotta keep moving. We had to have our plots intertwining. We couldn't have two separate ones.
Yeah. Going into this film, like when I first watched it ages ago, I had no idea that it was supposed to be an action film. So I was watching it expecting like an indie rom-com. So that when, Matthew Patel comes crashing through the roof, flying, throwing fireballs and stuff, I was just like, wait, that's this, it's that kind of movie? Wait, what?
Yeah, it definitely completely changes there, as you said, right? The first hint of like where this movie was going, and I forgot this like existed, was my first note, which just says sound and music is amazing. The very first band practice where it goes into the intro credits, that hit hard and fast. It was like, boom, we are here.
Yeah.
Um,
But by the way, going into this, were you aware that it was supposed to be an action movie? Did you know about that, or?
I knew he was fighting people and that there'd be fight scenes for sure.
Yeah. Because I was shown this movie with no lead-in, no real hints or preparation. I didn't even know the synopsis. I was just bored one night, and my dad just put it on, and that was kind of it for me. And so, of course, each subsequent showing that I did for our various friends, didn't give them any. I also did the same thing. Didn't tell them anything it was about. And I love that moment, like when it flicks into like a high speed action. Just seeing people go, oh wait, it's that kind of movie. It was always a lot of fun for me.
Yeah, and it's also a movie that, like, especially with you re-showing all of your friends, there's so much more you pick up on the second watch, the third watch, the fourth watch, the fifth watch. It's just levels upon levels.
Yeah, because even now, like, I'm still noticing tiny little visual details every now and then, like something that I never know, like that part where where Scott's talking with Wallace, and they're first going through the evil X thing, and he's just by the fridge, and he's like fiddling with like the little, I forget what the fridge magnets say, but it was
I think he wrote.
He was
sucks.
spelling out his sentence on the fridge, and I never noticed that little kind of visual flair. Or even like the little things where, how they have the little nameplates that show up whenever they introduce a new character?
Yeah.
It's like a blink and you'll miss it, but they're usually behind it, but there are points where they, where someone will lean in to, shake someone's hand or do whatever, and you see their arm will briefly pass in front of the nameplate as if it's like existing in a physical space just in front of them. I always love that.
Yeah, and it's just along those lines of like small things, like when Matthew shows up, he points with one finger, and then when Lucas Lee shows up later on, he points with two fingers, and numbers on the trailer, and just so many different number theory bits, because I love seeing those small sort of details.
Like how different numbers of X's will keep showing up depending on which one he's fighting at that moment.
Yeah, or when he's walking down the street, there's like 7 X's in sort of street signs and stuff like that, but 2 of them are off to the sides because he's already beaten 2 and stuff like that.
Yeah, and like towards the end, Scott's wearing a T-shirt that just has the word like 0 written on it because he's the current person dating Ramona.
And he almost became 8.
yes, he did. And because that's the thing with an audio format. It's very. How would you describe this film's visual style? Because we've kind of been dancing around it a little bit, for a little bit here. But how would you actually describe it? Because I find it very difficult to sort of like verbally articulate how this film looks and how it feels, because it obviously has a very heavy sort of video game influence, predominantly like old school 8-bit, 16-bit kind of video games. But there's still a bit more to it than that, if you catch my drift.
Yeah, it's almost like pop comic kind of As you say, very heavily video game and comic book influenced. There's literal segments that are just comic book bits drawn by Brian. And there are bits that are just straight up video game elements being ripped as well.
This is something I didn't pick this up as a kid, but I have now. Because the part where, you know, like where they do like the KO thing with like the KO graphic and the actual announcer, that is taken explicitly from Street Fighter Alpha 3. It is the same KO graphic and the exact same announcer soundbite from that game.
Of course, you'd get the fighting game reference.
Yes, I get. I really got into fighting games after high school, so now I pick up this stuff. And of course, you know, there's like little bits of like little Final Fantasy sound bites. The Legend of Zelda is played like Legend of Zelda movie. There's that bit where Scott's just jamming on the bass guitar. You know, where he tells, "Oh yeah, I just broke up with my eyes." By the way, I just learned the bass line to Final Fantasy 2. I always love that bit.
Yeah, it's like visually, I think just impressive and beautiful. Are the two things. Like it's just simple stuff. Like even when we're about to have the bass battle, and he's sort of strumming the bass off in the distance, and you just see coming out of the darkness just D D D D D D D D as he's strumming a D chord. Like just small and simple things like that.
Edgar Wright's directorial style has always been very, very stylized, even for some of the other stuff he's done, like Hot Fuzz and Shaun of the Dead do this a lot, because their editing is like, even for like really basic, really slow scenes, the editing is always like really lightning fast and quick, which you get a bit of here, not so much in the slower scenes, but more in like the in the more action kind of focus scenes.
Yeah, it just looks good. I can't say anything more like visually wise. As you say, it's hard to describe other than just it looks good.
Yeah. Is there anything in particular that really stood out to you? Because something that really stood out to me is kind of towards the end with the final fight with Gideon in the Chaos Theater. I always loved the look of that place, like how they have all those monitors in the background, but the monitors are also like playing like the sound wave of like showing like the waveform of whatever song the band is playing. But then when the band stops playing, it goes from blue to red, and it starts taking on a different it takes on like a different waveform. Gideon's glasses, like how it has like a pixelated kind of X imposed on it. Really nice touches. And that pixel katana he has, I don't know why, I've always loved the look of like that pixel katana in live action. I can't tell you why. I just always thought it looked really cool.
Yeah, I don't think there's a single thing that I can point at that like, you know, stood head and shoulders above the rest. It really is just the film as a whole, and the small bits, the big bits, everything coming together. Like a thing we haven't talked about a lot, because we've just been talking a lot about like the visuals and stuff. We talked about how much of a scumbag Scott is, but like these aren't the only characters in the movie. I feel like every character, you know, pulls their own, whether it's you know, his sister, whether it's the other band members, whether it's Wallace, any of the exes, everybody pulls their weight in this movie.
Everyone's got something that makes them memorable. Like the only characters that are forgettable are like the literal one, and like they come on, say a line, and then that's it. But even then, there's a few random like crowd members who throw out some good one-liners, like that one guy when he's fighting Matthew Patel early on, who just yells from the balcony, "Are you a pirate?"
Yeah, there's a few like that. Or even in the last battle when he comes into the Chaos Theater the second time, one of our reoccurring characters saying like, "Oh, the comic book was way better than the movie."
Yeah. Apparently he threw that out specifically because the O'Malley was actually visiting the set that day. So we thought, why not? I'll throw it in.
It worked.
Yeah. The character's name, I think, is because I just briefly talk about him. I think his name was Como.
I don't know exactly how to pronounce it, but yes.
Yeah, I'm struggling with pronounce. It's Canadian. Like I don't know how to pronounce that stuff.
The character played by Nelson Franklin.
Yes, that guy. He is named after an actual friend of O'Malley's, and that's why he was in the comic book. It's kind of like a shout out to his mate, and I love him because he has probably my favorite line in the entire movie, like the part where Scott, he has this terribly scribbled on picture of Ramona on a picture, and he shows it to us like, "Oh, do you know who this is?" And without missing a beat, he's like, "Oh yeah, that's Ramona Flowers." It's hard to tell why some bits of this movie work so well and why they're so funny, because a lot of it relies so much on the timing and the visuals, and trying to relate that secondhand in an audio only format is just it's difficult to really get it just sounds lame when I say it, but it's cool in the movie. It's cool in the movie.
Just trust us.
Just trust.
But no, I agree. That's one of my probably favorite scenes.
Yeah, I remember
holding the paper up.
because I didn't realize that this film came out 11 years ago, which makes me feel so old. Like, recently they had, like, the 10th anniversary edition, like a special edition of this movie, and I'm just like, it's been that long? No, I was young when this came out. I was young. Why am I older than everyone in this movie? Why do I feel so old now?
Look, we're all old.
I'm
Get
not
with the
supposed
times.
to feel old. I'm only 28. I shouldn't be feeling old.
Well, I'm 27, so I'm the youngin' of this show.
Oh wait, no, hang on. I forgot. I think you're older than me. I am 27. I'm forgetting my own age.
This movie is so great that he can't even remember how old he is.
No, I can't. Oh,
Look,
I didn't want to reach that age where I start remembering how old I am. That's just when it gets depressing.
I'm gonna take all of those feelings you got and I'm gonna redirect them, because we're gonna look at this cast as a whole, and I'm gonna give you some time to think about it. I'm gonna ask you who the best character is off of this massive cast, right? So you got the band members, you got the family members, you got the exes.
People. What's
There's
crazy
a lot of them
about this cast is that quite a few of them, they'd had some decent showings. They were at decent points in their career, but so many of the people in this movie just skyrocketed to the moon after this film came out. Because the two biggest names in this obviously are Brie Larson, who plays Envy Adams, and Chris Evans, who plays Lucas Lee, the second Evil X, who would, of course, both go on to be Captain Marvel and Captain America in the MCU. So, kind of big deals.
Yeah. To be fair, you've also got people like Aubrey Plaza and Anna Kendrick in there as well.
Oh yeah. I was just saying
there's
the
a lot
two
of
biggest,
other
but
mastodons.
there's a lot of them in there. Even like people who you would go, oh yeah, they're even some of like the lesser, like people who aren't as big as them are still doing really well. Like I had no idea Wallace. By the way, I had no idea Wallace was played by one of the Culkin brothers. No idea.
How did you not?
I did not
He
know
looks
that.
identical.
I know, he looks just like them. But he's actually doing really well right now. Have you seen Succession? Have you seen that show?
I've not, but I know he's in something brand new right now because they advertised it on WWE Survivor Series.
Yes, he's on Succession. Very popular, very well received. I think it's on HBO right now. He plays one of the primary characters on that.
Called Roman, I know that.
Yeah, he's doing... Are you looking at the Wikipedia page, Grady?
No, they advertised it on Survivor Series.
Wait, is that just because he has the same name as Roman Reigns?
I believe so.
That wouldn't surprise me. That would not surprise me. Yeah, and as you mentioned before, Aubrey Plaza, her career hadn't like skyrocketed at this point because she was on Parks and Recs at the time. It had debuted like Parks and Recs had come out like the year before, I think. But I don't think I think it reached like the peak of its popularity a few seasons in, so she was still a little bit away from from shooting off there. Brandon Routh, who of course played Superman a few years before this movie came out, and would go on to play the Atom in the Arrowverse TV shows.
Mm-hmm. Pretty big role as well.
Sorry?
Pretty big role. like in the Arrowverse, not like a bit part.
The Atom has always been, one of the standbys for the DC universe. So I'm just trying to. There's one more person who I really.
Is it Mary Elizabeth Winstead who played Ramona Flowers?
Funnily enough, no.
Just in Birds of Prey as the Huntress.
True, but
also in a movie called Kate that I absolutely loved.
I have not heard of that movie.
It's a great movie. Don't know if it's a cult classic. We'll have to look it up. It's pretty recent, though. I think it was this year on Netflix.
Oh, yeah. Then again, I'm terrible at following movies that aren't fantasy or science fiction. I have trash taste, Grady. I think, you've known me for years. I think we both know that pretty well.
Yeah, your taste in movies is horrible. Your taste in characters might not be, though, depending on who you pick here as your favorite character.
Here we go. Okay, so Mae Whitman, who played Roxy, the fourth X?
Fourth, yes.
Yes, fourth. Do you know what role she's most well known for?
I don't. I could click her IMDb page right here, or you could tell me.
She is most well known for playing, a couple of things. But one of her most notable roles is Katara in Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, she's also the current voice of Tinkerbell in the Disney films.
That'll do it.
Yeah,
that will do it.
Yeah. Funnily enough, she also starred as on Arrested Development for a few years, playing the girlfriend of Michael Cera's character. Nice
little throwback.
Yeah, so she dated him in that show, and then she spends most of this movie trying to kill him. So it's funny how things work out.
Potato. It's in the past.
But favorite character. We're finally coming back to that.
Look, I was gonna drag you back to it anyway.
It's
favorite character on 3?
It's gotta be Wallace, dude.
It's Wallace. That was correct. Wallace. That was the correct answer.
Thing is, I knew exactly where you were going, and I knew rewatching it. I'm like, I know exactly who Grady's favorite character is going to be. It's going to be the same as mine.
If there is any character you listed that was not Wallace, we were ending the show.
And not just this episode. Like you were
done. I was quitting.
5 episodes in? Nah, that's it.
This is number 4, but yeah.
Shut up. We both know I'm not good with numbers. That's why you became the programmer and I didn't.
It's true. Wallace just has something about him, man. Like, every single line he says is not wasted. There is a zinger, or there is something there, whether it is, like, how did you know? And Wallace is, like, passed out, still texting.
Even when he's not talking, he's still stealing the scene. It's just like, dude, you don't even have any lines. Could you stop?
Yeah, or, like, him just pulling, like, every dude, and there being, like, 4 people in this little one-person goddamn mattress.
That is one of the funniest visuals in the film. Like, where they're talking, and then people just keep sitting up in the bed.
Yeah.
It's great to convey an audio-only format.
Of course. Like the opening scenes for Lucas Lee, and like Scott's already been punched, smashed against a wall, and thrown into oblivion, and he just goes, "Scott, Evil X,
fight him!" And he goes back to drinking his coffee. Oh, so he has a lot of fantastic writing, and he's just really quick-witted, and I think that's just why he's funny. He takes the usual, sassy gay character trope, but he just plays it but it's more like he's just really... How am I going to word this? It isn't played up that he's sassy and quick because he's gay. It's more like Wallace is just a super quick person and just really, really witty.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's sassy, quick-witted, and gay. He's not sassy and quick-witted because he's gay.
Oh, exactly. Yes, thank you for putting it in a way that sounds a hell of a lot better than the way I put it.
I got you, homie.
It's also great watching it back and you realize that Wallace has his life together way better than most of the characters in this movie. It's just like, actually, Wallace is actually having a pretty good time right now.
He's living his best life.
Yeah.
And he's got a little one-bedroom apartment once he kicks Scott out. Nice little place, man. He was collecting rent off Scott for a while, presumably. Taking whatever $2 he earns from his not job. It's never explained how he survives.
I think it is. I think it's literally that he just mooches off because he lives across the road from his parents as well. So I think the implication is that he just mooches off Wallace and his parents. Which
Again,
in that case,
not
I
a
can
great
understand
human.
why Wallace wants to kick him out.
Not a great human, man.
Not a great human. Wallace though, best human.
Wallace is the best human. I would like to meet Wallace, please. Can he be my friend? Everybody needs a Wallace in their life.
I think Wallace has like my second favorite line in the movie. It's the one that's that's been gifted and memed a lot. The one where Knives comes and is like, "Oh, is Scott home?" Scott jumps out the window, smashing it. He's like, "Nah, he just left."
Yeah. Not lying. Where's the lie?
Of course, that's
If
not
you-
just. Oh, sorry.
Just saying, if you're going with amazing lines as well, same location in that house. You can't go past "bread makes you fat." Okay, everybody loves "bread makes you fat."
Let's be real though. All of Wallace's lines are absolute gold. If you picked any piece of dialogue from him and said this is the best line in the movie, I'd find it very difficult to argue that. Because what I would be arguing is a better line would probably just be another Wallace line.
Yeah, the reason this movie was on my mind to do or like to suggest for this is that again I was just like eating with my girlfriend or something. I think we were talking about having a wrap for lunch, and I was like, well, wraps are basically bread, and bread makes you fat. And immediate laughs. Like bread makes you fat, man. That scene, that whole sitting down scene with Ramona and Scott, whether it's bread makes you fat or him failing to cook, it's just another one where we take a break from the action and just have a human scene.
Yeah. But I also gotta love. You need to say the L word, Scott. Lesbian? No, the other L word. Lesbians. And then later on in the film, when he tries to say "I love you," he just says, "I'm in lesbian with you," and then what a bit more passes. The scene ends, and Scott's just like, "Oh, I said lesbians." Oh, it's so good.
Look, all we're saying is this movie's good. Whether it's the visuals, we've praised them, we've praised the cast, we've praised the writing, we've praised the characters, everything except for Scott's personality in this film.
Although
Bueno.
even then, that's on purpose. Like the whole point is to show his growth from being a shitty person to a less than shitty person, which, to be fair, is what most people were like in their early 20s.
Slightly less shitty, yeah.
Okay, maybe
Not
not
good.
as bad, but let's be real. Most people are pretty terrible in their early 20s. That's kind of what they're for.
And I think
we didn't even talk about the vegan police. Like, there's just so many things.
just want to start throwing out things you liked. The score as well, like the sound and music, absolutely amazing. Whether it's the songs that were made for it, whether it's Brie Larson's cover of Black Sheep, I still listen to that like on the daily. That's in my mix.
Good. I feel bad because I like it a lot more than the original version.
Or whether it's like one of the million songs that was played by the Sex Bombs, or just the score in general around it that's not the songs. Amazing.
They were like specific 8-bit versions of various songs made for the film. Like I think it's Threshold is the main song that Sex Bomb play. There's an 8-bit version of that plays over the credits.
Nice. Yeah, it's just all around good film. Like when we've talked about our previous ones, and we've talked about like, oh, I don't know who you could suggest this to. Maybe a horror film lover or this or this. I feel like you could sit anybody down and they would find something in this movie that they like.
I would argue against that, to be honest.
You just want some conflict on the show. I get it.
Shut up. That's not the reason. It's because it's just... This is a film that appeals to both of our sensibilities pretty well. It is a very quirky, very niche sense of humor, and it's heavily video game and comic book inspired. So this is something that appeals to both of us a lot. And I think that a lot of the niche humor, especially since a lot of the humor in the movie is just really dumb or really terrible pieces of dialogue that is just written that way on purpose, obviously. just to be said by a really good actor and just have it sound good. Like the part where Roxy's just like, "Oh, shut up, has-been." Grady, that's a dumb line. That's a very dumb line. That is, I wouldn't sit my parents down to watch it and say, "Hey, look, this is funny, right?"
Look, I sat my mother down. She enjoyed this film. I sat my aunt, uncle, and 10-year-old at the time cousin down. They enjoyed this film. They did mention that they'd re-show it to the 10-year-old when he was older, so that he would catch this and realize how bad of a person Scott was. But he just liked the action stuff. I've watched it with my best friend. I've watched it with my girlfriend. Everybody I've watched it with has liked it, of varying ages and degrees.
Okay, it's just I've shown it to to a few of my friends. They really liked it. I showed it to my parents. They did not like it. They did
time to get new
not
parents.
like a lot of the weird and dumb humor in this movie. Like, I was just a little bi-curious. Well, I'm a little bi-furious. Grady.
Get a cardboard box, put your parents in it, tape it shut, send it away. We're going to get you some new ones who enjoy Scott Pilgrim. Okay, because this is more important. This is the most important factor in any person in my life. If you don't like Scott Pilgrim, get out.
It's just not a film that I think is going to appeal to as many people as you think it does. That's all I'm saying.
I believe it'll appeal to everybody. Make everybody watch it. If you're listening to this and for some reason you haven't watched it, it doesn't matter that we've spoiled the entire plot for you. Go out and watch it. It's a visual spectacle.
That's true. Like, it's something where you could sit down and tell us, because it follows a relatively standard hero's journey kind of plot. So there aren't a lot of twists and turns there. A lot of it does come from the specific visual style, like the visual style and the dialogue. So that even though we've even spoiled some of the lines or some of the visuals, it's something you'll still enjoy and still be impressed by, because you have to see it, being performed by the actual actors and, being presented to you on screen the way the director intended to really enjoy it. I don't think there's a way we could spoil it or completely spoil or ruin this movie even.
No, even knowing everything about it, you can still go watch it and enjoy it.
Yeah. And okay, I gotta know, which was your favorite fight in the film?
Favorite fight. Yeah. Oh, do you have an answer? Can you go first?
Yeah. I'll give it. I'll go first. It's easily gotta be the fight against the
Katniagi twins.
Thank you, Katniagi twins. Thank you. It isn't as martial arts heavy as the other ones. I just think that I just like where it kind of like the kind of the way it sits in the movie, and visually, it's just the one that I like the most. Especially the part where they where they tear off the roof and all the snow comes in, and then the snow starts getting warped into all of their the kind of battle spirits, as it were, by the music and stuff. And I just love the music and the way the twins are presented as like these techno DJs with like this huge sound system. A lot of that just really appeals to me.
Yeah, I've run through like all of the fights in my head, and honestly, none of them are bad fights. They're all first equal, but if you nudged me and nudged me and nudged me over and over and over. I feel like just for the horrible one-liners that you've already quoted and the fact that we got to see Ramona in action, I'm going to go with the Roxy fight. I feel like, we saw a lot of Scott fighting, but we got to see some Ramona with her hammer stuff there.
And to be fair, hey, we get to see Katara in action, like, for once. So, real-life Katara, for what it's worth.
It's true. That is true. So yeah, they're all equal, but I guess that one stands a little bit more up, just because it's a little bit more unique in that aspect. Yeah. Look, how can you... The first fight had magic. And all of a sudden, people were magic, okay?
It drops you in on the deep end, yeah.
It does.
By the way, I've been searching this for a while, so this is no longer relevant, but I thought you'd get a kick out of this.
Nice. For the record, for the listeners, Campion just sent me a tweet link of Chris Evans. Just
fighting Chris Evans. Yes, it's a picture of Captain America. That scene from Captain America from Endgame where he's fighting himself, but they photoshopped the other Captain America with Lucas Lee, who Chris Evans also plays in Scott Pilgrim. And below that is Chris Evans himself retweeting it with a line from the movie.
Yeah. Yeah. It's good.
It's good.
It's good.
Well, it's also good because he quotes a line he says from the fact that he remembers this, a film that is definitely on the smaller scale compared to the stuff he's done since then. It makes me happy, It makes me think that he got a real kick play. He really got a kick out of playing it. So,
well, Campion, it's clear that we absolutely loved Scott Pilgrim versus the World, and we'd suggest it to everybody. You got any more blab about this film that you want to throw out?
I do have a few more pieces of trivia. While we're on Chris Evans, that scene where Chris Evans fights Scott, but then Scott realizes that he's actually fighting stunt doubles. Those are Chris Evans' actual stunt doubles. A bunch of them have gone on to do like his Captain America work and stuff. And for the age, okay, so typically whenever you cast an actor for a particular age, you cast them for the age that they look, not the age that they actually are. So a lot of the actors in this film are either older or significantly younger than their counterparts. For example, Michael Cera, who plays Scott himself, he's 20 in this film rather than 22. However, the biggest one is probably that Knives Chow, played by Ellen Wong. She was actually 25 at the time of filming. Rather than, because, the whole big thing is that, she's a 17-year-old high schooler, how dare her? Whereas in, her actor is actually older than Scott is. That's why they have the line of where, when Knives is just like, oh man, I can't believe it. I bet, talking about Ramona, I bet she's old. She's probably like 25. That's why that line's in the movie, because she actually is 25.
How much more trivia do you have?
That's mostly it. Those are the two biggest ones that I wanted to get out there.
Okay. Throw them out like ninja stars. Yeah. You haven't even told us how much this thing made in the box office or anything like that.
Well, that's because you did at the start of the recording.
Or did I?
Oh wait, was that before we went live?
That was before the recording.
Okay, well, I'm sorry. It all bleeds together, alright?
It's not my fault we talked for 18 minutes before hitting go.
Anyway, as you can probably surmise, this film did not do very well at the box office. It had an estimated budget of 60 to 85 million. However, it made just a little under 50 million at the box office. But like a lot of great cult classics, when it hit to DVD, it made more than its budget back. And in fact, and of course, it was based on the comic book series, which relatively recently, I think around like 2012 to 2015-ish, the comics were actually re-released in color, which I would highly recommend picking up. It is a fantastic series. Since they had to cut out a lot from the movie, I don't think watching the movie is going to spoil a lot, because they had to change around a lot of stuff. Like in the comics, like as I mentioned earlier, there's a proper fight with Nigger Scott. With the fight with the twins, rather than them being DJs, they actually build a giant robot and Scott fights that. There's a bunch of cool stuff in there. And one of the most important recent developments, to coincide with the 10th anniversary of the series, last year, the Scott Pilgrim video game was re-released because it was commissioned way back when the movie first came out. It was like a PlayStation 3 exclusive, and then I think it was like a digital exclusive as well. So once that all shut down and ended, the game was gone. So it became like a very, infamous example of the need for video game preservation, because this fantastic and amazing game just disappeared off the face of the earth. But it's back. It is on the Ubisoft store, I believe. It is a pretty solid port. I got it for myself when it came out, and it's a beat 'em up game done with this pixel art. Fantastic pixel art, by the way, in the same style as the comic, and I would highly recommend playing it. Really goddamn fun.
You want a breather now?
Yes, I would like a breather, thank you. So Grady,
Obviously.
I'll let you finish us up this time. What are we going to be covering next week, Grady?
Oh, next week we're going to be covering, frantically switches terms to fun, a movie called Idiocracy. I've never heard of this film before, but while we were watching Scott Pilgrim, my girlfriend suggested it, said, "Hey, is Idiocracy is a cult classic? You should go watch it." And I brought it up today, and Campion's like, "It's on the list, buddy. Let's do it."
Oh yeah, it was already on the list, and it is definitely a cult classic. So yes, very much looking forward to Idiocracy. You haven't heard of it?
I have heard absolutely nothing about this film.
Oh wow, that's actually okay. That's going to be a wild ride for you. So
Oh, thank you.
Before we close out the show today, Grady, any final thoughts you have on this film? Anything you want to finish out on?
That was me being silent because I'm on the throne and I'm not allowed to speak. As the God Commander or whatever you introed me as.
God Emperor of Mankind. Do you know nothing about 40k?
Look, Campion, just wrap us up.
Okay, as always, thank you so much for joining us here today. This has been the Lexicon of Lore, and we hope to see you next time.
Did you finally find an outro?
Yep, I think I might need another line in there somewhere, but... You know, if you actually... I'm wondering if it would be better if when I ask, do you know nothing about 40k, if you just fade it out and cut it there? I think that might
No,
be
I'm
a
keeping
bit fun.
all of this in.
God damn it.
When I asked you, did you finally get an outro, you know that's staying in. The whole thing is about us arguing about you never having an outro.
Fine. I guess